Hello and welcome to Movement Monastery. I don't just flip and do parkour and acrobatics, I also make things. I actually build LED suits. This is a project I worked on for a group called Urban Electra, and they do electronic string instruments. So I was making them an LED set of corsets. And so they gave me these corsets to work on, and we went through some designs, and eventually I came up with this very specific type of layout for this, and I just wanted to share with you how I actually put this all together. So let's take a look-see. Actually, after I had pre-planned and pre-made some of these things, and then I actually found out that I put them on the wrong side, so I had to go back and redesign some of the way I was going to do this because I didn't want to waste the LEDs in the process. And I use LED strips and then Velcro and some other things like that as well. But I did this assembly style, obviously, because I had so much I had to do, and it just made it easier to do it that way. So anyway, here's me right here just doing a lot of really fast work. I sped up the camera at this point, and I'm just cutting away some of the connection points because I needed to be able to get in and unwire it so I could move it to another part. So just salvaging a little bit of equipment right here, nothing too spectacular. Here I am just organizing some stuff. I mean, when it comes to this kind of work, you really got to make sure everything is in the right order. If you don't, you end up kind of losing track of where you are, and when you have to glue or cut or solder, like, 50 to 100 LEDs in a row, you got to make sure everything's in order. So here I am just disconnecting some of the cords from the LEDs itself, and just soldering them, unsoldering actually. So I'm just melting the tinning wire and taking the cords off. So luckily, most of the stuff that I'm able to do, I'm able to go backwards with it, and I actually make a lot of my products so that I can easily go backwards if I make a mistake. Right there was just showing kind of the end product of doing like about 50 to 100 different LED strips in a row, and then using something to weigh them down while the glue set and while the soldering set and everything like that. So it's always a process like that. Right here, what I'm actually doing is using a specific set of pliers or wire cutters that actually pull the wire covering off so that I can get to the exposed wire, and then I'm actually able to use it a lot easier, and this makes it so much easier to do it this way than it would be to go in and use a wire stripper. Again, it's just so much easier this way to do it. Here I am trying to tin these wires. What ended up happening with this one is my soldering needle was too dirty, and it wasn't able to make contact and actually heat up what I was trying to do. So eventually I got fed up and I had to clean it. So yeah, that's me being fed up right there. Luckily, it doesn't take much to clean the needles, and they're actually pretty cheap to buy. I use a Weller soldering iron, so right here you can actually see the tinning wire melt and actually attach to the wire itself, the exposed wire. And here's me doing the rest of them. I'm using this thing called a handyman. It keeps all the wires in place so that I can actually use my hands the way I need to be using them. If you don't do that, then you're just going to end up burning your fingers while trying to hold on to everything. It's really worth your time to just go ahead and get the handyman. It's not even that expensive. You can even make some yourself with some like clothespins or other things like that, but it's way easier this way. Here's just a front shot for you. Again, just doing some more tinning. This is the first thing you have to learn how to do. And once you figure it out, everything's better. Yes, I should be wearing goggles right now. Usually I'm far enough away where it doesn't really matter. But occasionally, yes, they can jump up at you. So long as I'm not like right up next to it, it's usually okay. That was me actually. I was soldering the battery pack, the wiring for the battery pack. And here's me doing some twisting. So what I have to do is I'll twist a couple different wires together. Then I will, this is for the battery pack again, then I will solder it second. Okay, so this is actually a little bit backwards. I did twist it first and soldered it second. Moving ahead a couple of weeks, this is when I was actually putting the Velcro on the corsets themselves, so that I would be able to attach the strips, LED strips to it later on. So in order to do that, I use E6000, it's a glue, and I glue down the strips to, or one side of the strip to the whatever surface I want to put the Velcro on. And I put the soft surface of the Velcro on the piece of clothing or the item, whatever, the prop, and then I weigh it down with something else. So this takes a little bit of time, obviously, but that's why I do things in spurts and make sure if I'm going to glue anything, I glue it overnight. That way the next day I can get on to the next piece of work. And that's my dog back there. At the end of this, I would put the big board on top of it, and then I would weigh it down with some weights to make sure that it compresses down and glues down properly. Here I am. I'm actually using compression tubing, and I'm using that to give us a sleeker look and hide the wires more, especially if it's on a black coating or black corset like it is with this. Just black works better to hide those things, and it also makes it easier to work with the wires later on. But yeah, it takes a while to do some to shrink everything, and again, going through like 50 to 100 of these things in a row, it's tedious, but if you do it in batches, it makes it work so much faster instead of doing one or each individual corset at a time. Alright, and here I am attaching the LEDs to the I'm attaching them to the corsets themselves. After the glue had settled in place and everything was good to go, I'd also had previously glued down the spiky part of the Velcro to the back of the LED strips. And here I'm just laying them out to see where everything is, and just get a better look of it, see where all the wires are going to be and where I have to sew, if I'm going to have to sew at all. I try to do as little sewing as possible, and try to design that into the first product so that way there's less of that it has to be done. It just takes so much longer to sew things, so especially with the way I'm doing this, and this is all done with my hands. So right here I'm doing a little bit of sewing with my doggy, and with this one specifically, what I was doing is I cut some holes inside the corset themselves to hide the wires close to the body, and that's an easy way for me to not have to sew certain parts of it, because it just ends up being compressed to the body itself, versus having to worry about it being on the surface. And here I am just organizing the rest of the costumes with the shoulder pads and the forearm pads. This is a one-sided costume, so it was asymmetrical, meaning that one side of it, only one sleeve we use, because Urban Electra, one side has to be holding onto the instrument, the other one's going to be holding the bow or whatever they wanted, and to have that asymmetrical look is really what they were after. So after I got everything attached, then I attached the battery packs, and then from that point on I just started turning them on, and here they are. Everything turned on just fine. Just testing it right before my client came over, and yeah, it looked really cool, and here she is. We were just talking about how to store it, and yeah, it looks very like Tron-like, and it turned out to be a great costume. Really thankful for the opportunity to get a client to work this on, because I haven't had a chance to yet, and it all turned out very well. It was a fun experiment. Thank you, and if you have any interest in purchasing any of these suits, please let me know. Let's get together and figure it out. And have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll make some more later on. Cheers.